Good evening. It is Tuesday, November the 13th, about 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. This is Shay Gibson with Weather Flow bringing you a Chucktown Wind Report. As it looks like tomorrow's winds may ramp up from the northeast at pretty strong values. So we're going to go over that in just a moment as far as the winds. The overall pattern right now, we're looking at the radar plus water vapor imagery here. And what we show is a very strong dip in the jet stream that is drawing all the way down to the subtropical jet, basically drawing moisture up from the Pacific across the Gulf of Mexico and up along the atmosphere along a warm layer overhead. So that's what's bringing these rains overhead ahead of a cold front that's going to be developing. There's going to be an upper low that is going to be coming out of Texas and sort of spinning up and towards the mid-Atlantic region over the next couple of days. That's going to become a coastal nor'easter in time. For what we have going on right now is we have this moisture aloft and we have a cool layer down below it sort of trapped. We call this cold air damming or a CAT event. And so what we have is a wedge of cooler air underneath the warmer air. And what that also means is that we have northerly winds that are going to be picking up tomorrow as a ridge out to the west continues to build in. Let's zoom in a little bit closer to Charleston. You can see that radar. Give that just a second to fill in. I'll go ahead and turn the GOES off so you can get a better idea of the rain. Looks like we're going to have on and off rainfall pretty much all night long and into tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, it could break up a little bit at the coast with the northeast winds wedging down the coastline. It looks like we could get a little bit of a drier slot of air down along the coast to sort of break up that rain, but we can't rule out a few spotty sprinkles or drizzles here and there throughout the day. But it looks like the gradient's going to be steepening, so let's go ahead and move this out the way. We'll take a look right now. What we have is a large ridge built out here to the west, big area of high pressure, and that is driving clockwise winds. This is a rather strong ridge down across the tidewater area, down to the Outer Banks, and eventually this is going to turn clockwise down the coast, down into the Carolinas. So that's what we're looking at as far as the northeast wedge setup for tomorrow, and we can already see the gradient up here along the tidewater area, 25 knots gusting to 28. So this gradient is going to continue to tighten down the coastline. Outer Banks already seeing 17 knots, up several knots from earlier, and this is going to turn a little bit more northeast and eventually northeast as it gets down into South Carolina by tomorrow morning. We may start out a little bit offshore, northeast winds, and then these winds should turn. The big question will be, will they go east-northeast and really crank up along the beaches? I don't think we're going to have that sea breeze oscillation sort of set up with the sunshine and anything like that. That's going to be really driving these winds upwards. But we take a look at the model guidance. Here's that area of high pressure I was talking about out here to the west, right here. And this is what is really driving these winds down. We have this northerly wedge that is driving down behind this cold front, and some of this air is trapped at the surface and underneath, and it's scooting underneath the rain, so it's going the opposite direction as the rainfall, in some cases more north or northwest downslope from the mountains. But either way, we're going to see this kind of bending as it goes down the coast tomorrow. So if we run this model forward, we can see the high moving up towards the Ohio Valley. Here comes the upper low. This upper low right here is going to be forming across Texas, Arkansas, and then it's going to be kind of sliding up towards the mid-Atlantic, maybe a little further to the south. And this is really going to increase the gradient up in this area. And this is where a coastal nor'easter is going to come together and scoot up this way. We're expecting some wintry weather along this corridor along the western side of this coastal low as it develops and heads up the coastline. But for us down here in South Carolina, that may mean a wraparound flow for Thursday, more of a west-northwest flow with some moderate steep gradients that flow around it as it heads off to the northeast. So if we run forward in time, we see that low wrapping around. You can see that wintry weather, that wintry mix occurring around the western side of that low, and it looks like a pretty nasty system overall, pretty messy for the East Coast. The higher elevations, of course, getting some of that more wintry mix. So coming back down to the coastline here, we always have to remember with northeast winds, we do have this extra sensor here now, the Schutz's Valley sensor, which is new, just went in the other week, and now we have 6 weather stations from WeatherFlow in the Charleston area. So hats off to the College of Charleston and all those who are involved in memberships in creating that station and making that install a sensor project happen. But as far as the winds for tomorrow, the question here is going to be, as winds come out of the northeast, are they going to be enough to be side-side to side-on directions? Now we know North Folly will likely see some of the strongest winds for tomorrow because it sits further out in the ocean and it gets more of a cleaner fetch along that northeast flow. Some of these sections of Folly, North Folly, and northeast is side-side. Obviously inside the harbor, the further away you get from land, the higher it's going to pick up. So we're looking for these two sensors to show some increases in the morning and also more of a cursor for direction. So the more that those lean northeast, the more likely the coastline will be northeast as well. So the big question, if it goes east-northeast, we're going to have a side-to-side-on flow for our Sullivan's Island, Isle of Palms, and that means the winds could increase there. So I'm calling for the winds tomorrow about 18 to 22 knots as far as the northeast winds are concerned. It'll probably be up and down along the beaches if the winds are kind of scooting offshore, back to side shore, offshore, back to side shore. Northeast is not exact. You need about 67 degrees of direction in order to get it to turn more side shore. And then also for Folly Beach, this will be more directly onshore here on the north end. So that's going to be the big question. So 18 to 22 knots on the beach. Now Folly is going to be a little bit further out in the ocean, closer to this coastal gradient. So I'm betting 20 to 24 knots for Folly Beach, more likely in the upper 20s as we get later in the day when the gradient increases a little bit more. So these folks on the north end of Folly Beach, you could be seeing upper 20s by the end of the day, and likely low to mid 20s throughout the day. As far as about mid-morning on. So these areas right here being a little bit more side to side off. If we do get that east-northeast lean in on the coast, then looks like we could see some stronger winds there. So that's gonna do it for the winds and the speeds. Now we do have to consider sea surface temperatures, which are now cooling. This is a loop from NASA Sport SST from October the 24th going all the way to present, which is now November the 13th. We can see that waters have cooled down significantly. So now we're down to the low 60s. In fact, if we go back to Datascope and look at our water sensor, which is right here, French Quarter, 66.7 degree water temps. So they've cooled down just a couple of degrees, few degrees since the last, I would say about another week or last week or so. And they'll continue to cool down. So the air temperatures are not looking like they're going to be that comfortable tomorrow, maybe low to mid 60s. If we get that northeast wedge really pulling in, we may even drop down to upper 50s to low 60s for highs underneath cloud cover. So that's going to do it for the Chucktown Wind Report for tonight. Just be on the lookout for the winds to be increasing tomorrow from the northeast, especially for those along the maritime zones. Small craft advisories are likely to be issued from the Weather Service if they haven't already. I need to go check their website as well. If you're a boater or have interest on the water, check that as well as an official source. And we'll see what happens tomorrow, but look for the showers to break up a little bit in the morning and then maybe come back late afternoon to evening as things get messier. But there may be a little opportunity for the kiteboarders to get out there in the wind. So until next time, everyone take care. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon.